This is Andrew with the Chosen Prime with a video preview of Make Toys Pandinus, or otherwise known as their take on the Headmaster Scorponok. As you can see, this figure is quite massive. This is a production sample or test shot. It's very close to final production with the details, the paint, and overall quality, but it isn't quite ready for retail release yet. He's set to scale with their version of Metroplex called Utopia, and I'll show off comparisons in a little bit. But just to give you a quick overview, here you can see he does have his Headmaster with a lot of posability as far as the head is concerned. His arms are on heavy ratchets. You can rotate them that way. Same thing with the claws. The claws can open up and rotate, so you get a lot of posability options. As far as the arms here, you have two outward ratcheting points. You have one here at the shoulder, as well as part of what the Scorpion mode in the city mode lets you get to. But for here, what you do, if you take this panel and lift it up a little bit, you'll have access to another joint here, and then this joint here to even kind of get further out with the arms. The tail or scorpion stinger here, you can see it looks like a Decepticon symbol. It is posable. It's got multiple joints along it and then a ratchet here at the top. He does come with his orange handgun that he came with, like the G1 toy, and it transforms as well. It's got a removable magazine here. If we kind of just split the gun open a little bit, we can slide out this magazine, and the you see the round here rotate. He actually has two more of these magazines hidden behind his legs, and I'll show that off. But if you want to, you can slide the gun closer together and get a smaller version of his gun that you can hold. He can hold it in either the claws or his hidden normal robot arms. So for his claws, there's a channel here in the claw that matches the rail here that's on this gun. And this gun here actually has a peg that rotates, and you'll see why that rotates here in a moment. But you just take it and you slide it to match that part of the hand. And then because it can rotate, you can close his claws and get him to hold his old G1 weapon, which does look quite nice in hand. The other accessory that he comes with is parts for the Scorpion mode and base mode, and it's actually his original G1 shield that matches the toy. This actually splits in two, but just before I do that, you can see that there's wheels here for when he's in Scorpion mode, and it's got different sliding rails, and I'll show those bits off later. But for now, what you do is you can see that there's this part right here. You just kind of go ahead and split the part right here. And what you'll come to see with this toy is that there's these type of rails here kind of throughout the figure. It's here on this purple part and here, and what that matches is it actually matches these kind of rails here on the side, these kind of pegs here, here, there's one here, and then there's the opposite kind of peg. This peg is actually on the underside of the arm here, and so what you can do to mimic the way that he had the shield is you just take this and slide it over the channel here. And it does take a little bit, but there you can see that he gets his old G1 toy shield. And you can do the same thing and put this one on the other arm and just slide it over the channel. And there he is with all his accessories. One other thing that you can do with this bigger gun is that you can take it, and with this peg here, there's a channel underneath the stinger. And this works for all the modes. There's actually a hole here. It's kind of hard to see. It's right there. And what you do is you take the handle and you slide it up, and then you slide it back, and then the tail with the ratchets can actually then hold the gun. So if you want the gun to be held there, you can have it that way too. If you want to, you can actually remove these larger claws. And so what you do, we'll go ahead and remove this part here. And we'll get a close-up here shot of how this works. So if you look at the arm here, there's a hinge here, and so what you do is you got to make sure that the claw is kind of out of the way, but you split and open up the hand this way. And here you can see that here's where the normal robot hand is kind of hidden, and there's two little pegs here that slide in, and then when you collapse this, it all fits in, so you just go ahead and push this back, and you can take the robot giant claw off, And then here you can kind of just flip this around, and then you get a normal sized robot hand. You can do this on either hand, but you can kind of see you get this nice posable hand. It's got a ball joint here, individual fingers, and so you can get some, if you really didn't like the giant claws, you do have this option. You still get the same kind of posability with that hand. So we'll go ahead and show off with both hands missing. And here he is with his normal robot arms. They're a little bit small compared to the claws, but they do work if you're not a fan of the, the giant claws. Because it's got the whole kind of rail system, you can take parts off like this, and again, you kind of have that standard peg and kind of standard rail, and you can see that this one actually has a rotation point. So like here, you can rotate these missiles down, or this panel down, depending on how you feel like it. But you can also take things like the claws, and you can see that there's that standard kind of channel right there, and you can take it and mount it here, and then rotate it down, and then you have different posability options if you kind of want him to have, multiple arms. It's kind of up to you. And then you do have other ports like here. You can slide that on, and you can go with the shield and kind of go further from there. So you do have options as far as however you want to set up his arms. He can wield the gun with the smaller arms. He's got the same kind of channel here in his hand as the claws did. So you just take it and slide it down and then wrap the fingers around. So he can hold the gun with the normal arms as well. He doesn't need the giant claws. So that's a nice little bonus that they added there. As far as posability for the legs, he does have ratcheting hips, knees, double jointed knees, and such. The ratchets on this particular sample are so strong, it's hard for me to even do this on camera, and I'll show off a pose here in a moment of what you can kind of get. But these can move, oddly enough. This chest panel here is on a set of springs, so you can move out of the way. The feet are on pistons that can rotate, and there's ratchets here at the feet, and you can get a lot of posability, especially when you transform it into different modes. These feet can practically turn inside and out, and then the knees are actually double jointed with a hinge here and here that is really, really strong. As far as these, you have the eight scorpion legs, and they're all on ball joints, so if you want to pose them individually, you can do as that. And here's how the stinger looks and works. You can see how it's got different joints and ways to kind of rotate and bend, and it's got a separate joint here as well for the different modes where you can kind of get it even lower or higher depending on kind of how you want to pose it. So he's got a lot of options as far as posability and very expressive. This is an example of the poses you can get him in because of all of his joints. Again, very clickety joints, a lot of movement, a lot of twisting, and you can get some nice dynamic poses like this one here where you can look really menacing with his giant claws and his posable tail. So it's quite impressive what they can do even with this amount of plastic here and still make him stable enough to hold a pose like this securely. To give you a true idea of how large Pandinus is, here he is next to Combiner Wars Deluxe. This is a Wild Rider, a Breakneck. And then here's another Headmaster. This is Fans Project's code, Function X code. And so you can see that Pandinus here is definitely a very, very big bot, especially in his robot mode. Here's a quick overview before I get some close-up shots. Again, he's very impressive here in his robot mode. Here are the spots where the extra magazines for the guns are. You essentially pull these little pegs in and slide it out, and you can pull out 2 more magazines. Normally you don't need to get to them, but it's nice that they just go ahead and use that space. Again, these pistons move up and down depending on how you want to pose the toes and the feet. Detail for the upper torso. Here again you can see that the head does have bits of posability. You can tilt it down. The Headmaster does come with this little extra ponytail that's made out of clear plastic and chains. And just overall, just a really good bits of design and aesthetics for this figure from Make Toys. I'm going to attempt to transform Pandinus on camera. It will be difficult, unfortunately, due to how large she is and how strong the joints are. I do not have instructions because this is just a production sample. So there might be a lot of cuts, and we'll see what we can do. To start with, first we come to the head here and remove the Headmaster. Essentially, Scorponok or Zarak, depending on which version of this character you think it is. The Headmaster here is matched to a mask, so we just go ahead and pull out the Headmaster, and you can see that most of the mask is there, and then here is the robot mode. There's a little port here as well as the way it fits. There's a port here for the head to kind of plug in. But then we'll go ahead and we'll transform Zarak here. Here's a close-up of Zarak or Scorponok in this head mode. For comparison, here he is next to Code's Headmaster. So they're roughly the same scale, if not a little bit larger. But in order to transform Zarak here, we come to the back, and there's actually pegs here in the arms and then peg holes in the legs that hold these legs in securely. Just go ahead and pull them off and open it up. You go ahead and rotate the waist so the legs are facing forward. The little ponytail part here is actually on a little swivel hinge that's around the head, so you want to go ahead and take it and rotate it around to the back like so. And essentially there is Zarak or Scorponok, depending on, again, US or Japanese, which version you want to take a look at. And here's Zarak next to Code. Again, a little bit bigger than Code over here, but still a nice size. So this Headmaster actually has a third mode. It can turn into a little scorpion himself. So to do that, we go ahead and the arms are on these little pivot joints. So you go ahead and slide them down. As such, again, they rotated down from this peg hole here. Come over here, do the same thing. Unpeg it and rotate it down, like so. Now we can take the legs, and the legs will come fold back and cover the Scorponok's face, like such. Go ahead and straighten out the legs here, which now turn into claws. And essentially there is Zarak in his little scorpion mode. It does still retain this little nice little clear tail. There are actually little kind of these little legs here underneath, so it's a nice little bonus mode we get here for Zarak. So to get Pandinus into scorpion mode, first we'll come to the back and we'll unpeg his tail from his backside. There's some pegs here at the base that we need to move, and then this entire set of legs unpegs. There's a peg here that pegs into his back. You want to kind of slide that down to move that out of the way. And then what I recommend is we need to go ahead and rotate the arms fully up. And again, these ratchets are really strong. You want to go ahead and straighten that out. And then, kind of like what we did for the arm articulation, we need to be able to go ahead and pull out and kind of straighten out this part here. So we want to go ahead and move this part out of the way so that we can go ahead and fully extend the arm out. Because we want this block fully out, straight, like so. And then this part here will straighten out like such, and you can actually go further than that. You can go even you can kind of get this to be 45, but it is a tight, really tight joint here on this copy. We can go ahead and rotate these guns around to point to the front, and there essentially is one of his scorpion arms ready to go. So we'll come to the other side, rotate it all the way around. Go ahead and unpeg and loosen this side to then fully rotate out that part. And we need to go ahead and angle it. And you probably want to be careful with these joints here. I'm seeing stressing happening here with these things because they want it to be so stiff to hold these positions, but then it also makes it a little bit difficult to transform. So be careful as you're transforming the arms here. Okay. So next what you want to do is you want to go ahead and lift him up. And you can see here, his torso gets bigger. And he actually has an ab crunch. That's mostly used for the city mode, but he does have an ab crunch when he's down here. But you come here and you want to rotate around. Go ahead and pull out this buckle here so you can kind of pull all the way around, which will then let you come back here, and then this peg here that pegged onto the back is going to peg into this clear part here once this torso is fully extended, and it'll kind of hold the entire piece here together. And so there, essentially you can see that now the torso is fully stretched out. Now for this next bit, we're going to want to unattach these pistons from the legs. And so what it is, if you look, there's a little slide out hinge here. So what you want to do is just kind of pull out sideways here and kind of get it so that this still stays in the ball joint, but then now you have this free. And you want to do that for all 4 of the pistons that are attached to the leg. Essentially just push them back on each one of them, which will then let you go ahead and do the next part here. One of the things I missed when I originally folded and pegged in these legs here is that there's actually on this purple part here, there's a tab or a peg that fits into this peg hole here that it needs to match there, as well as this green peg needs to patch into this hole here on the torso. So make sure that the upper torso is fully extended, and then make sure you fold it in so that this part pegs in fully to lock, like you hear it click there, to fully pull it into place. And then now this green peg will now part into the waist. You should lock the entire torso together like so. So now go ahead and take him and lay him down temporarily so you can go ahead and come to the feet here. And you want to be able to go ahead and, start bending here at this pivot point, but then also you want to kind of have the feet fold out flat. And so you use that ratchet to fold them out flat so that they will now kind of point out straight like this. This part, this green part here, that would be the kneecap. It's on a pivot point, so you want to go ahead and unpeg it, and then it'll rotate up and kind of sit flush like that. So we'll come and show the other leg off again. So you want to go ahead and bend the heel back like this. Make sure it's nice and flat. Once you flatten the heel out here, you'll see that it's nice and flat, so then you can go ahead and rotate the leg out. And then you want to take the leg and you want to rotate it so that you have clearance to kind of start folding it forward onto the body here. And you kind of want to use both of the joints in the knee, both this one and this one, to kind of fold it over. So again, we want to come over here, rotate it slightly to kind of clear the tail, and then double fold the knee around the tail back into the torso. And we'll finish it up here in a moment. Let me come over here, and just like we did on the other side, this unpegs, and then just rotates forward and sits flat. And then before we move forward, we want to go ahead and flip him over. So we go ahead and flip him over. And essentially what we see now, if you look, is there's these 2 pegs here underneath the bottom. And then there's some pegs up here. And what you do is you take the entire shield that he came with, so both the one part in here, and installing the green peg into the purple to make one large piece. Now what ends up happening is that these purple pegs here peg into these green spots here and kind of give not only the wheels for the Scorpion mode, but then also better balance. So it'll go ahead and it should just kind of peg in underneath the Scorpion to kind of give him some height and give him the wheels. So now we can come around and try to finish the feet here. We need to come back here and make sure the tail on the hinge is pulled back as far as it can. And now I just need to spend a little bit of time here kind of making sure that the feet are installed correctly. And essentially the core thing, there actually is here, it's kind of hard to see, there is this peg here, it's purple, that actually pegs into a spot here on the foot. So let me go ahead and make sure that at least the feet are set up with the way that these knees are, and then we'll move forward. And now I've got the legs fully folded in. Essentially what you do need to do is make sure that they are fully folded in half, so that this joint here is folded over so that it's kind of folded over itself, and then that'll let you have access to go ahead and peg it in to the underside of the body. So essentially they sit kind of that way on the body. Now for these, with the pistons, you come around and you rotate them so that, again, there's a peg hole here underneath that pegs in here, and you want to do that for all 4 to kind of lock these pistons in place, and they kind of turn into kind of cannons in a way. And again, because they're pistons, they kind of slide forward and back. And they should hold and peg securely once you get them set up. We come to the tail and fold it as such to kind of get that nice stinger look. Now that we've got the base plate on the bottom with the wheels and it adds this kind of little extra little tail here in the back, we can come to the scorpion legs, and they're all ball joints, and you can kind of rotate them in place so they look like they're the correct way. We can do that on both sides. Go ahead and spin it around. Take the legs and set them up. So we come to the canopy or the cockpit here, and essentially this part here with the head rotates down and around, revealing the canopy or the cockpit. This part kind of folds down to be the entrance, and essentially there is Pandinus in his scorpion mode. According to the official pictures, these little cannons here actually move to the hands, so we'll go ahead and slide them off, and then you want to make sure that that port is on the outside. Go ahead and rotate the claw around correctly, and then we can go ahead and take this and slide it onto the claw, and we can do that on both sides. Come over here, slide it off, slide it on. The Xerac can fit into the cockpit, so go ahead and we'll open this up and slide this up, and you can see there's a nice little cockpit there. And so Xerac here, he actually has a peg here on his backside that matches a peg hole in the cockpit, so you want to go ahead and bend his knees, kind of get his arms up a little bit, and just kind of slide him in there, and he should peg in into that slot. You get it set up correctly. And then you can go ahead and close down the canopy, and Xerac can drive the Scorpion from the cockpit there. A close-up of the cockpit, you can see that there's this little clear orange windscreen here that's got a little bit of viewfinder to it. That actually, in most light, you can see Xerac or Scorponok kind of in there driving it. Pandinus Scorpion mode detail here, you can see that he's quite large once you finally get him in his final Scorpion mode, almost even too big for my setup. You can see that his bug legs are on ball joints and they can articulate. The arms here have the same kind of posability as they did in robot mode, where you can turn them up and down. You can twist the claws can come in and out. The tail can be posed separately, depending how you feel. If you do want to, you can take the gun, just like you can for robot mode. You can peg it in to the tail here. There's a slot underneath. You push it up and then you slide it back. So again, you can hold the gun there in the tail. So again, very impressive and imposing in this mode. So to transform Pandinus from his Scorpion mode to his Citadel, Temple, or Base mode, first you want to kind of come to the back here, and we're going to go ahead and lift him up and take off this part that we use for the shield. And once we've got that shield off, we want to come down here and unpeg the leg section and fold it all the way forward. And we'll go ahead and lay him down. Once you've gotten the legs out of the way, go ahead and unpeg and kind of rotate back the robot legs. And what you want to do is you want to rotate them kind of out of the way for now. And you want to come to that ab crunch that was there earlier, and you want to go ahead and now fold that up fully. And what you want to do next is come to the feet, and essentially you want to bring the toes in on both sides so it's all squared off, and essentially these would now be the bases of the temple part. And take a little effort to do this, but you essentially want it to look like that. So here you can see that I've now squared this up. You want to push the feet in as much as possible. You want the hips here to be as square as possible, and then these as well as the square. You want to just kind of squish it all as much as possible as you can in that way. Then you want to take the tail here and rotate it up straight and Technically, there's long pegs here at the base of these of the tail here that's supposed to peg into these long slots here on this on the feet or the hips. But I haven't had a whole lot of luck doing that. But essentially, you just need to make sure that you're all the way back. So you want to kind of make it so that that tower is now squared and based like this, so that it's nice and kind of got a nice base there. That's how this tower, and that's the start of this temple mode. Let me go ahead and rotate this around to the front. And you want to go ahead and just kind of get the legs up out of the way for now. You want to go ahead and get Zarak, or the Headmaster, out of here. So let's go ahead and pull this off and get him out of there. Then what you do is you go ahead and lift up the head so that it rotates this way. So again, once you have this chest kind of put back the way it was kind of for robot mode, you want to go ahead and lift up the entire part here, and that'll kind of make this nice opening so that when we get the path here, you'll have the kind of the entrance to the temple. For the arms, it's pretty simple. What they've recommended is just simply rotating the claws so they're facing downward like this. And then they actually, depending on whether you want these kind of open into the side, these little legs here, or inside, they recommend either closing in. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll close in the arms. So you want to go ahead and just collapse them in so that they're pointing straight as much as possible. So kind of have back to where they were for robot mode. And we'll come and do the other side. Again, collapse it as we did for robot mode. Go ahead and rotate the claw downwards. And we'll go ahead and, just for now, we'll go ahead and, while we collapsed it mostly, we'll go ahead and make it so that it's at least got a little bit of an angle to it. So we can get into this. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. And then we want to take the shield that was the wheels on the bottom, and essentially there are 6 pegs on this side here that correspond to holes on this part of the legs here. The only weird thing is I've not had a whole lot of luck of just kind of placing it in here. I've had to kind of lift it up. So what I've had to do is just kind of come at it this way, lift it up so that I can get in and kind of plug this together. Like such, and then let it lay back down. I mean, go ahead and extend this ramp, and extend that ramp to the temple. And then finally we come up to the tail, and we go ahead and rotate this down, kind of however you want it, but you kind of want, there we have the kind of the Decepticon emblem there, and there's Pandinus in his temple or citadel mode. Here's Pandinus in his temple or city mode. As you can see, it's very imposing with this giant Decepticon-esque symbol here at the top. As you can see, it's quite large. Same kind of great detail from both the robot and the Scorpion modes. It just looks like a really nice kind of different city bot. You do have posability options with the temple mode. So here we go ahead and we'll move him. As far as options of posing in the city mode or temple mode, you can this ramp can collapse all the way in like that, or come out further. You have the robot mode arms can move further out and rotate, which then lets you go ahead and open up these arms here to kind of show off this nice deep cavern into the center of the temple here, into his chest. If you want to, you can rotate these guns. The head up here, if you want to get complete height, you can just go ahead and straighten it out fully and get the temple to be really tall. So you have a lot of different options as far as what you want to do here with Pandinus here in his temple mode. Here's a close-up shot of that interior again. You can open up these arms to kind of get this pathway. This pathway here does slide further back into the torso. And then you can take Zarak or Scorponok here and kind of get him situated here back into the entrance of the cave. So very impressive, you know, imposing entry into this temple. Robot mode comparisons with Pandinus and Utopia. Here you can see they're roughly the same height in robot modes. Pandinus has got a bit of a hunch to them. but he's taller with the stinger and a bit bulkier. But I think side by side, these two figures from Make Toys, as far as their city bots, look really good. And so I think if you want a companion piece to Utopia, Pandinus is your guy. Pandinus in his Scorpion mode next to Utopia in his mobile battle station mode. As you can see, Pandinus, while being roughly the same size as robot mode, is much larger as a Scorpion. There's a lot more mass, it's a lot larger. But I think side by side here with Utopia, I think they look good. Make Toys did a really good job of making these nice big city bots for us. Pandinus and Utopia in their city modes. As you can see, they look roughly the same scale city-wise between the two. Pandinus is taller with the spire here for the temple, but I think as far as like way they're detailed and the way they're kind of scaled for smaller figures, I think they both look really nice as city bots as a pair. I think Make Toys has done a pretty good job of making some really good giant scaled figures. Here's Pandinus in robot mode next to Omega Supreme. This is the Year of the Snake Platinum Edition Omega Supreme. I have the Armageddon kit here that adds the wings and the hand. That's a third-party add-on kit from Make Toys. So you can see that these two figures side by side, they're these large city kind of scaled formers, look good. And so if you like your Transformers large, I think Pandinus would be a good add to your collection. Pandinus next to Omega Supreme with the Armageddon upgrade kit. As you can see, the upgrade kit from Make Toys for Omega Supreme makes him get his launch platform and the tank as he originally has, and it scales really nice with Pandinus. So you can see that the two of them as their city bots from Make Toys look really good. The kind of the nice height, these overall just nice giant figures from Make Toys. And a final big bot comparison, here is Pandinus again in robot mode next to Generations Metroplex. As you can see, Metroplex is considerably larger, the official one, but I think Scorponok here looks like he would still be a good fit for your Generations or Classics collection. So here's Pandinus next to Metroplex in his mobile battle station mode. As you can see, Metroplex matches somewhat scale-wise when he's in his mobile mode versus robot mode, where in robot mode, Generations Metroplex was much taller. I think, you know, these two rivals look great when you compare them at this scale. They're nice counterparts to each other. And so if you want a nice giant purple Scorpion to go against Metroplex, that's where Pandinus kind of comes into play. Pandinus and Generations Metroplex in their city modes. Here you can see, again, even though Metroplex was taller in robot mode, they're roughly the same kind of scale here in city mode. And I think both look good side by side in their city modes. Some final thoughts here are on Make Toys Pandinus. He's an excellent version of Scorponok, and if you're looking for a large Scorponok, he's kind of the one to beat right now. He matches existing city bots, both from Make Toys and in Generations. And I think even in this test shot form, the design, the plastic paint are just kind of excellent. It's really kind of outstanding to kind of see this figure in hand and kind of get a chance to mess with it. Just certain design elements like this Decepticon tail and just, you know, like the temple mode and stuff of that nature and really make this figure stand out. Pandinus is currently up for order at the Chosen Prime. He's due out in May, and so take care.